Like if I wanted to, you know, like cut this down and create a layer, then I would take it and literally, then I would staple it onto my page. But then you see what you get? Can you guys see that? So I'll hold it up close so you can see. So you already had these ink blots down there. You know how I love it, grunge. And some coffee staining and stuff. And then coming back with a piece like this that could actually be layered over it. It just starts, it's just amazing. I feel like it brings so much value to the work. Hi YouTube! Welcome to my studio. I'm Robin McClendon, and once again we're here on the Gelli plate and working from my book, and we are going to work on our next section, which is it's an exploration, so printing on transparencies. So we're going to use some of the same techniques we had already used, but we're going to be doing them on transparencies. When I first started working on transparencies, I would find these at the thrift store. Like, you can still find them all the time. It's like these old, you know, overhead projector ones, and this box was like $2.99, and it was full. When I find them, I just grab them because they're kind of like a dying breed. We're gonna use the Sumi ink because that's why it's an exploration, because it's a carryover from the last technique where we're using Sumi ink. It's just another way to think about working with it. We're going to use one of my stencils. I love turning this into, I love working this in a transparency because of the marks in the line. And this is a lot of my scripting, but you can use any stencil you already have. They're great for this process of creating like overlays, because a lot of times the stencils have a repeat pattern that just really looks good. Like sometimes I think that they're a little bit too simplistic for a gel print, but they look great as overlays. So we can think of them in that way. Also, with the stencils, and you can also use your glue gun stencils or masks that you've made. So I've got a good clean plate here, at least in this area. And one of the things you can do is we can do some glazing. So let's do a little glazing. So we get a nice light layer, because I want to do some scripting, but you have to have some paint down here so that the get a little more ink in there, so that the Sumi ink will actually lay on the plate, because otherwise it'll have a tendency to bead up, because it's water like any ink would do. It's got more of a liquid surface to it. So let's see over there, it's beading up because I don't have any paint there. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish it so you can see what it looks like. It'll still print. So we can take one of these, we'll take one of the transparencies, lay it down, and because it's plastic, it is a plastic, we are going to get some of this bleeding, but I happen to like it. And in the areas where it's really wet, you get more bleeding. In the areas that are are drier, like down there, you get less. So it's just, you know, one of those things. And it's interesting because when it dries, it's on there. Okay. So this one you can see really distorted more because of the but I just love it. Let me look at that. So we have the bit of the champagne down, and you just have this really cool between like scripting and sort of mark making. Oh, I love it. And so when this dries, you're going to see, but just having this sort of ink blot type of thing, and I'll put these in my journal, or I'll put this in books, or even, you know, over top of various sections of my collages. And, you know, stapling them that's how I think that's the best way. But you can sew it, you know, definitely if you have a sewing machine, you can sew through this. We're going to let that dry. And now I have this down here, which is actually good. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to work on this side while that dries. I'm going to put some of this zinc. I put a little bit of the champagne, but I'm going to put the zinc white, because it has a tendency to be a little bit translucent. And then okay. That's the other thing I love about the large plate, because you can definitely use let me just do another. Well, actually, let's do it like this, because I could script forever. Let's go ahead and pull this just with the paint. Get that to stick to it. And then I'm going to do the stencil. So this way we get a layer. This goes back to the idea of glazing. So you get a nice little glazed layer down here so that the ink will stick to it. If we're working with paint, you don't have to worry about it the same. With the ink, just kind of push all the air bubbles out. It'll put a layer of color down that then we can actually do some scripting right on top of, and then it'll settle on here because it'll be dry. So I'm going to put that to the side, let that keep on drying, and I'm going to let's use a stencil, and let me get a color here. I have an ivory black, but I think I had a green. Did I have a green here? Well, I'll use the Payne's gray. Well, I'll use the black. So, okay. Get a nice little amount on there. You want it to have some moisture in it so that some moisture in it. Okay, because we're going to lay this down, and we're going to get 2 prints. One of them is going to be the negative, and one's going to be the positive. Just put this down here right now, and then take this piece off. Well, actually, I could leave it there because I need something just to kind of mush over, except for I need it a little bigger. So we'll use this. And really kind of press down in there, as you know. Stencils are normally pretty thin, but it doesn't hurt to really make good contact with the film. do this with anything. Just look around, any kind of, see, so we get this first one, which is just yummy. Even just be creative. Any plastic that you may have around, if you don't have these transparencies, no problem. Just, you know, like a cake box, you know, like a lot of times food comes with, food will come with, you know, kind of plastic tops or bags or just anything that has sort of plastic, you know, sort of a acetate type of plastic. And you can still buy these at the office supply stores. So if you like this technique, it's worth buying a box. This wasn't the best pull because you can see there still was a lot of paint on there, but I still feel like it's an interesting piece to put over things. And I would even come back and paint on top of this. Like I would do some gold brush work on top of it and then use it like that. So nothing is lost. So I'll show that one again. But since this is down there, I think I'm going to put, there's still a pretty decent pattern down there. So let's go ahead and use some white. And we're going to pull that. But and then I'll do it again so you can see a little better. Get some more out. I can just do entire sessions, of course, with just nothing but these transparencies, and then I play with them over my collages, in my book pages, to really, it's just nice to have a collection of them so that when you are working on other projects, pulling from these just really adds exponentially to the work. It just gives it a different texture, a different, you know, translucency. You know, it's just a game changer when you're looking for something to kind of change up in a collage project. Okay, so this is still a little wet, so it's not pulling as well on this, but that's okay. Let's keep going. What I'll do here is I'll pull this with paper. And periodically when you're working with the transparencies, you have to go back and forth between the transparency and the paper. Just because the plastic is just not going to pull everything off the plate like we know our papers do. Let me get a heavyweight sort of cardstock paper here. And let's get this pulled up. And this is going to be a good print in itself. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit on here to get a really good pull. So if that dries on there, that's going to be better. And then let's come back and get this. Let me put some gold with that black. I think that could be nice. So, because that Sumi is dry now. So the key here too is not a lot of paint, because as you can see, the actually I'm gonna pull this with paper too, because also a lot of times the transparency likes things to be a little bit more wet. And this looks like such a good print. I don't want to waste it on it not working. So let's put that down. And let's see what this is looking like here. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, it's good. It's pulled nicely. It's such a beautiful dense print, but look at that. It almost looks like rock art or something. See the print in there? Oh, that's so good. What a great collage piece. Okay, and it cleaned our plate. So let's go back here, and using one of these, I'll show you how we can put this down on and pick up a nice fresh print just with a little bit of glazing. We don't want to need a lot because we already have paint on there. What we're really trying to do is just put a layer down so that the ink won't move around. And then of course when it hits the page, it's going to I like that. Sometimes it's nice to leave spaces open too, so that you're able to see through your transparency, because the whole point is to layer this, so then you can sort of see through whatever you're layering it on top of. So for instance, let me just pull this. So let's say I'm working with this piece here, and I'm going to want to, I could even create layers over something like this that's already dark, but you know, we want to be able to see through it. Okay, so see, we can see through, and oftentimes I like to put this side down with the paint and the ink on it against my page because it keeps it protected. So you can see even here, I'm not going to put it down yet because it's not dry, but how you can start doing these layers over various backgrounds, or even here where I could just do a layer over something already and have a space where you know, you can still see through to your page. Well, let's keep going. So we have that there. Let's do a little quinacridone. Why not? And we'll do this on paper. I don't think it's going to pull. I find that the film works better when you, like I said, when the ink is fresh, like we just did on the other one. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and do the stencil again so I can do a better job of it so you guys can see. So this is fun. You can just do a lot of the ways that you're already gel printing. Same thing. Oh, look at this. This is good. So you see that? That's really good. Images there. And then, of course, we can use this. I would coffee stain down in there to bring it down. And then I have something that still just has this wonderful old world kind of look to it. So let's see. While we let this sit, let's come back with the black. I'm going to do this again. This time I'll remember my rules. So you can put a decent, you know, you want it to be somewhat a wet layer so that there's still some moisture left when you remove the stencil to actually print the positive. Okay, so let's grab the stencil. This down. You know what? Let's use this one because we had another one that we had paint on. Let's go ahead and use that one. I've got a little pile of stuff over here. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. So remember we had some color there. So let's put that down and pull what's in the middle here. And that'll create another print because we're going to have paint everywhere. We'll have that sort of white paint everywhere where the black paint won't be. So you can do multicolors, of course, and build up. I like to do it so I have a little bit of a translucent thing going, so I can really take advantage of the fact that it is a stencil. I mean that it is, you know, a translucent substrate. But, you know, no rules. Just play and have fun with it and see what you come up with. Just really press into the plate and get a good coverage. Okay, so. Okay, that's really good. And we still see that we have that paint down there. So that's good. Now, the way you make sure that the next print is a little cleaner is let's just take and put some paper down and just really press into those spots again, you know, to really clean it up. Because like I said before, the transparency is a plastic, so it's not going to pull everything off the plate. It doesn't stick to the plate the same way paper does. So in order to clean this print up, so you don't have a lot in the middle, just go ahead and pull another one. And then see, we have this nice clean area. And then let me get, and there should be enough down there still to pull off. We don't want it too wet. I don't want it too dry. So I'm going to leave this on there because it's thin enough to dry on this transparency. Let's let that sit there. And then let's pull this. So this was just the ghost of that. We didn't get much from that ghost. So we can just also overprint on that. Let's use some of the quinacridone. How about that? Can't go wrong. And we can put it right over this print. So let's take this, put it back down, put this over it. And once again, really press in there. See what we get. That's nice. So I'm going to put this down, get up the rest of the paint. And I think I'm going to put the positive over top of this again. It's all about layers on the gel plate. So let's put this down. We'll let that sit. It's something to letting your print sit, especially when you have thin layers. You really want to pull those layers. Just let it, you know, it sit on the plate for a little while. It's best to let it sit on long enough for it to dry, because anything when it's too wet, that's when the paper rips. But if the paper dries, then it releases beautifully from the gelatin substance of the plate. So that's something to keep in mind. Oh yeah, great. We got a nice print. Wonderful. Okay, so you can see that there. So even the gold that was down there has come up. See the gold there? So you can see as you layer it over things, just how good that is. So let's go back to even like this piece here. Like if I wanted to, you know, like cut this down and create a layer, then I would take it and literally, then I would staple it onto my page. But then you see what you get. Can you guys see that? So I'll hold it up close so you can see. So you already had these ink blots down there. You know how I love it, grunge. And some coffee staining and stuff. And then coming back with a piece like this that could actually be layered over it. It just starts, it's just amazing. I feel like it brings so much value to the work. And we can even take, let me see, let me just pull from one of my other gel prints. Even like last week we were working with this. And if you take some simple mark making and then come and lay this over top of it, you see how complex it becomes already? And you could literally, you know, collage with that. Put it close so you can see it. You know, you can collage over top of this and just do some really cool things with it. So I just kind of wanted to encourage you. Oh, this is one that I did the staining last week from our dots. And the same thing here. You just really exponentially adds to the complexity of your print by layering on top of it. And show that layer. We also had this one down here should be dry. Yeah, it is. You can sort of see here. Oh gosh, it's so good. And you just see these subtle layers. You know, you can see underneath. Of course, when it's glued or, you know, dried and put together, even with the stapling, it just get a whole different thing that happens. We have this one down here. This is the negative. So you can see. So just kind of start thinking in terms of how you could create layers. I'm sorry that it's shining from the camera, but you can see how complex that became already. We can still see the dots underneath there, some of the other scripting. I just think it's one of my favorite things to do and techniques to use in my work. So, okay, let's pull this one up and see what we got. This was our positive, so the knot didn't come off because it had started to dry. You can see the subtle bit of it, and I'm going to show you one of the ways to rectify that too. Let's say if you just want to use that print like you like it, it's not lost. And I'm going to show you. If we just coffee stain it, it's amazing how the print will come alive. You see how this now is popping just because we stained it. And all of a sudden, this is something that would be beautiful in a page, a book. It could be a foundation for a collage. So I'll lift it up. Okay, so you see how now you can see the lines and the images better just by staining it. So what looks like, oh, that's nothing, it's not cool, you know, whatever, it could become a great book page that then you can start working up on. Doing other stuff too. Are you kidding? This is good. And then of course, since we're scripting, I would definitely do some of that on here, like right across the bottom where it didn't print as well. Then I would just come in. I would just come and do something like that. It's going to bleed a bit because we know the paper is still wet, so that's going to give us a nice little something. I can even come back and make it bleed more because until the Sumi actually dries, it's going to it'll bleed. Once it actually dries, it's indelible. So see how we're getting, try to lift it up, the bleeding. Just good stuff. So even a print that looks like it's a throwaway, none of it's a throwaway for me. I can see a potential in every sheet of paper that I pull. It's just you have to add other things to it. You might have to stain it. You might have to, you know, do some dyes or, you know, whatever, you know, overlay. And then we can come back with the overlays that we created, and which are where did I put them? Oh, here we are. And even on this page, maybe just a little section or something. Like if I were doing this as a book page, I might just take just a section of it, cut it, and then adhere it to it. So see how we're just constantly building up on the page to get to something that, I'll hold that up so you can see it. To get to something that's just amazing. So you could cut a section of it and then lay it over top of the piece, you see? And that would just be, let's say, like a book page. So if you see it as a journal page or something, see how cool that looks? And definitely in collage. I mean, goodness, you could just do sections of this as collage materials. So anyhow, there we have it. Grab any kind of plastic you can find. If you really love this, I'm telling you, it's great to add to your arsenal of collage materials. You can go online to the office, you know, stores. I'll see if Amazon has something. At least I'll link it so that you can get an idea of what product I'm using, what, you know, what it is. And just buy yourself a box of it and just print with it. And it'll just really expand your library of images 100%. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed today's you know, studio time, and I'm sure you guys are already like full of ideas and ready to start racing. Love you all. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hit the bell if you're new to the channel, all, so you can subscribe. And for those of you who enjoyed this, please thumb it up. It always helps all my algorithms and everything, and for new people to find us. Love you all. Have a happy week creating. And until next Saturday, from my studio to yours, my heart to yours, love, and just have an amazing week. Bye-bye.